The river Akeni is older than kings. Older than stories. Older than even the stars that watch from above. They say it remembers everything, except mercy. Greater than, and tonight, it wept. Greater than the moon hung low, heavy as a wound. The frogs were silent. Even the birds forgot their names. Something was coming. Prince Kofi, son of the Mountain Kings, walked the river alone. Not because he was lost, but because he was tired of being found. In the palace, his name was shouted. Here, the river only listened. His hands carried the weight of future wars, arranged brides, false peace. But none of it mattered here. Only the water mattered. It had become his secret, this river walk. A ritual, a retreat. But that night, the ritual broke. Greater than from the reeds, something breathed. A gasp, a splash, then silence deeper than death. Kofi didn't hesitate. He threw off his robes, dove into the current, cold slicing like bone. He fought the pull of the river until his hand brushed skin. Soft, cold, but alive. He pulled her from the deep like a forgotten jewel. She didn't thrash, didn't cry. Her body glowed faintly, as if made from moonlight itself. And then, she opened her eyes. Greater than silver, not gray, not white. Silver, like mirrors that showed you not your face, but your sins. She looked up at him and whispered, "What name is this world?" He carried her to the bank. She lay there, soaking, breathing, calm as a river stone. She knew nothing, no name, no place, no fear. Greater than, what is water? She asked. What is sky? Kofi wrapped her in his robe. The reeds swayed, as if watching. The frogs stayed silent. He didn't understand what she was. But he knew what she wasn't, mortal. As he turned to leave, the river churned behind him. A whisper, no, a growl. The waters rose slightly, then fell back. Greater than, not rage, not warning, recognition. The river knew her. And rivers never give without taking. That night, the stars blinked slower. The trees dared not breathe. The river Akeni had delivered a girl with silver eyes, and taken nothing in return. Which meant, something else would be taken soon. This was no rescue. This was the beginning of a debt. Some say the girl was born of the river. Others say she was cursed by the sky. But in truth, Nimiah was something far older than either. Sound of steady rain falling on leaves. Kofi stood at the mouth of the cave, watching the sky cry. The girl beside him did not blink. She simply opened her mouth and drank the rain. She didn't speak, not for days, not a single word, only watched him with those glowing silver eyes, eyes that looked like they had seen entire lifetimes drown. She would sit in the rain for hours. Let it wash her skin. Let it cling to the curves of her body like a memory. Kofi could not look away. She was like a secret the world had forgotten, beautiful, heavy, and holy. The villagers whispered. They said she was a spirit bride. That the river god had taken her once, and would take her again. But Kofi didn't care. He brought her warm water, roasted plantains, old stories. She never laughed, but she listened. Then, on the fifth night, she spoke. Nimiah, whispers, the rain remembers. He looked at her. Kofi, softly, what does it remember? She smiled for the first time. It was not warm. It was wild. Nimiah, that I was never supposed to leave. A gust of wind rushed through the cave. That night, the river rose without reason. It climbed the banks. It whispered her name in the reeds. And in the middle of the storm, Nimiah stood, barefoot, hips wrapped in moon-soaked fabric, arms open to the sky. And she began to sing. Her voice sounded like thunder drowning. When a vow is made under a cursed moon, it binds more than hearts, it binds souls, kingdoms, blood. The storm had passed. The river, swollen and humming, settled like a beast that had just fed. Kofi watched her walk into the morning mist. Nimiah, the girl who sang down the sky. He had never touched her. Not truly, not the way he wanted. But that morning, she took his hand. Nimiah, softly, if I stay, you will belong to me. In all ways. Kofi's breath caught. She was beautiful, terribly beautiful. Like something you don't survive. He said nothing, only nodded. Sound. A sharp wind rattling dried bones. That same night, the village priest came to him. Old, blind, mouth filled with charms. Priest, hissing, the river girl carries a vow. She once belonged to the god beneath the water. If you bind yourself to her, he will rise. Kofi's jaw clenched. Kofi, then let him rise. And in that moment, the prince did not fear the god. He feared what he would become without her. That night, Kofi returned to the cave. He found Nimiah sitting in a circle of carved stones, naked, glowing, her braids loose, her hips coiled beneath her like a serpent resting. Nimiah, do you vow it? He knelt. Kofi whispers, I vow it. Then, she kissed him. The air cracked. The river roared. Far beneath the earth, something ancient stirred. And when dawn came, they were no longer alone in the world. What lives inside a name? A river, a god, a scream, and sometimes, a girl who was never only a girl. The vow had been sealed. Their lips met under the firelight, and the river whispered its approval. But when Nimiah woke, her eyes were glowing brighter. She stood alone at the riverbank, staring into the water as if seeing her reflection for the first time. Nimiah whispered, he remembers. The wind changed. The river began to pulse. Kofi came running, but the Nimiah who turned to him was not the same. Her voice was layered, hers, and something else. Nimiah said, he gave me a name, long before I was born. I ran, I hid, and now he calls me back. Kofi stared at her, and Kofi, El said, then I will follow. She shook her head. Nimiah responded, no, Kofi. If you follow me now, you won't return. But he did not care. That night, Nimiah walked into the sacred spring alone. The water rose around her, glowing blue. She spoke his name. Nimiah chanted, Obatu, I return to you. The ground trembled. Far below, something stirred, an ancient creature of water and bone. Kofi waited at the edge, watching the surface churn. When Nimiah rose again, her body was wrapped in waterlight, her eyes silver flame. She was no longer just Nimiah. She was the bride of the river god. And the god had awakened. There are no gifts from gods, only debts. And the river, now awake, had waited long enough. The sky turned grey. Storms brewed where sunlight once danced. Nimiah stood on the high rocks above the sacred valley, her eyes glowing silver fire. Below her, villagers had gathered. They bowed, they begged, they knew who she was now. The river's bride. But being chosen did not mean being free. A voice echoed inside her skull, low and ancient. Obatu confirmed, you must feed me. She fell to her knees. From the forest, Kofi emerged, sword on his back, eyes locked on her. Kofi, then take me. Nimiah cried out. Nimiah whispered, no, you were the one good thing. I will not give you to him. But Obatu's hunger boiled through her veins. The earth cracked. A wave of river water exploded into the air, forming a monstrous shape, a serpent made of water and bone. The god had come to collect. Kofi ran forward, standing between Nimiah and the beast. Kofi, I vowed to stand with you, even if the river drowns me. Nimiah screamed, raising her hands. The air lit up with runes, thunder, and power. She faced the river god. Nimiah said, then take me instead. A blinding flash, silence, and when it cleared, the god was gone, the river stilled, and Nimiah was gone too. Kofi dropped to his knees. Only the river knew where she had gone. Only the river could sing her final song. Love doesn't end when breath does. Some loves dive deeper, into silence, into memory, into the river. Weeks passed. No one saw Nimiah again. But every night, Kofi returned to the river. He stood barefoot at its edge, waiting in silence. The villagers whispered. Some said he was cursed. Others said he was mad. But Kofi knew. She was not gone. Just deeper. One night, the river began to sing. A low, mournful hum that made the trees weep. And from the mist, she rose. Nimiah. Her body shimmered with waterlight, her braids floating like they belonged to another world. Her eyes, no longer just silver. They held the storm. Kofi, is it really you? She didn't speak, but her hand touched his cheek. And in that touch, the memories flooded back. Their kiss, her sacrifice, his vow. Nimiah, softly, I am not only Nimiah now. I am the river, and it remembers love. He reached for her, but when their fingers touched, the river surged. Suddenly they were pulled below, into the world beneath water. A kingdom of drowned stars and ancient gods. She led him through coral palaces and bone temples. The god Obatu watched in silence. Obatu, echoing, mortal love cannot live in water. He cannot stay. Nimiah turned, defiant. Nimiah, then I will make him breathe beneath the river. She kissed Kofi once more, and the water glowed around him. His lungs burned, his soul shifted, and then, he breathed. Two hearts, bound by death and vow, vanished into the deep. But the river sang louder than ever. And some say, if you listen at midnight, you'll hear them laughing, beneath the waves. In the river's heart, where gods sleep and time forgets, love does not die, it becomes legend. Beneath the surface, Kofi and Nimiah walked through a world untouched by human feet. They moved in silence, but their hearts spoke in waves. Kofi's eyes, once wild with grief, now held something new. Peace. He had become something more, his skin shimmered faintly, his breath easy underwater. Kofi, so this is what forever feels like. Nimiah smiled, but the river was not done with them. They were summoned before the elders of the deep, spirits cloaked in coral and bone. Elder voice, you have defied the natural. Love like yours changes the river's current. It must be sealed. A vow was demanded. Nimiah took his hand. She spoke the ancient words. Nimiah amiably said, by blood, by breath, by the river's song, I vow to walk the water with you, even past the end of days. Kofi answered, and I vow to stand beside you, whether in light, shadow, or the world below. Their words became light, their light became current, and the river carved a throne of stone and shell. It was theirs, the bride and the warrior, the lovers who did not part, even in death. And in the village above, a young girl stared into the river's surface and smiled. Mama, I saw a queen underwater. Her mother only laughed, but the river sang. It always sings, when love refuses to drown. Every vow awakens a price, and the river never forgets blood. In the deep quiet of their throne, Nimiah felt the current shift. Kofi stirred beside her, a ripple, not just of water, of warning. Far above, in the world of men, the kingdom of Umbolo mourned its prince. They had built a monument of stone and silence. But the Queen Mother was not done. She called upon the oracle of red salt. Oracle's voice, your son lives in shadow. His love has tethered him. To break it, blood must spill. The Queen Mother whispered one word, Nimiah. Back beneath the river, Nimiah awoke from a vision. She saw flames. Her village, burning. Nimiah, they come for me. Kofi clenched his jaw. He remembered duty, kingdom, mother. He remembered pain. But Nimiah, she reached for his heart again. Nimiah said, if I return, they'll kill me. If I stay, your world dies. A cruel choice. That night, they rose from the deep, water shedding from their skin like armor. Kofi carried her into the winds of the world they once knew. But as they crossed the river's edge, the water behind them darkened. The vow had been broken. A price must be paid. And something ancient awoke below. Something hungry. Some loves awaken gods, but no god forgets a broken oath. The night was too quiet. Nimiah and Kofi hid deep in the ancient forest beyond the river's reach. But even the wind trembled. Kofi held her close, watching the stars fall like embers. Kofi whispered, I would burn kingdoms for you. Nimiah replied, then prepare to burn. For across the trees, the Queen Mother's hunters had arrived. Warriors painted in silver ash and moonlight. Drums echoed like a curse. But it wasn't them who reached first. From the river's shadow, a spirit rose. Tall, horned, cloaked in water and rage. The river god had awakened. River god claimed, she was mine. Kofi stood between Nimiah and the beast. Sword drawn, heart racing, but Nimiah stepped forward, barefoot, glowing. Nimiah confirmed that, I was never yours. I chose. Lightning cracked through the trees. Rain poured, not from clouds, but from the river itself. The river god screamed, and Kofi lunged into battle. But even blades of kings shatter before gods. And as Kofi fell, Nimiah let out a cry that shattered the sky. The sacrifice was not him. It was her. She whispered her final vow. Nimiah then whispered, take my soul, but leave his love untouched. Then, with arms wide, she walked into the storm of the god's fury. Light swallowed her, and the river calmed. But Kofi he wept, not for death but for a love that dared challenge gods. When love crosses into legend, it no longer dies, it becomes the river. Weeks had passed since the storm. But Kofi had not spoken. Not to the elders, not to his warriors, not even to the gods. He lived alone near the river, guarding the place where Nimiah disappeared. Her laughter still echoed when the wind bent just right. One evening, beneath a blood-red sky, the river shimmered again. But no storm came, no spirit, only her voice. Nimiah asked, did you forget me so easily? Kofi spun. She stood there, barefoot, glowing, but not flesh. A spirit of light and water. Yet her curves, her smile, her eyes, they were fully her. Kofi stammered, Nimiah. She placed her hand on his chest. Nimiah responded, my soul lives in the river now. But I am not gone. The river had taken her body. But her sacrifice changed its curse. The god had fallen into sleep. Now, once each season, lovers could return, make their vows before the river, and be bound forever. But Kofi only wanted one vow. One woman. Kofi commented, then let me drown in it. Let me belong where you are. She wept. Spirit tears. Nimiah replied, not yet. There is more you must build. For us. They kissed. His lips touched water, but it was the softest, most powerful kiss of his life. And when she faded, a flower bloomed where she stood. Red, glowing, alive. Kofi picked it and whispered, you are still my bride. And the river smiled.